The rain hammered against the taxi window as I clutched my leather portfolio, watching Seoul's glittering skyline blur past. My phone buzzed again, the third time in 10 minutes. The agency. "Mia, remember," Mrs. Park's voice crackled through the speaker. "The Kim family values discretion above all else. Mr. Kim Tae-jun is particular about his son's education. Do not disappoint us." Particular, that was the word everyone kept using. In my 3 years teaching English to Korea's elite children, I'd heard it all: demanding, exacting, perfectionist. But there was something different in Mrs. Park's tone this time, something almost like a warning. The taxi pulled up to a gate that looked like it belonged to a fortress. Sleek black metal, at least 15 feet high, with security cameras that probably cost more than my yearly salary. I paid the driver with trembling hands, suddenly aware of how out of place my simple black dress and practical flats were in this world of old money and new power. A voice crackled from the intercom. "Name." "Mia Thompson, I'm here for..." The gate swung open before I could finish. The driveway alone was longer than my street back in Atlanta. Manicured gardens stretched on both sides, and in the distance, perched on a hill like a modern palace, sat the Kim residence. Glass and steel and impossibly clean lines that somehow looked warm despite their severity. A woman in a crisp gray suit met me at the door. Her face was professionally blank, but her eyes, sharp and assessing, took in everything about me in 2 seconds flat. "Ms. Thompson, I am Mrs. Choi, the house manager. Please follow me." The interior was breathtaking. Minimalist luxury, the kind where every single item costs a fortune but looks deceptively simple. Art that I suspected belonged in museums hung casually on walls. The floor was heated marble that felt like silk beneath my feet. "Mr. Kim is in a meeting," Mrs. Choi said, leading me through corridors that seemed to go on forever. "You will meet Ji-hoon first. The young master is spirited." Spirited, another euphemism. She stopped at a door, knocked twice, and entered without waiting for a response. The room was a child's paradise, or it would have been if that child wasn't currently standing on a designer desk, holding what looked like an expensive vase over his head. "Ji-hoon, Mrs. Choi said calmly, as if this were completely normal. "Your new English teacher is here." The boy, he couldn't have been more than 8, looked at me with eyes that were far too calculating for his age. He had his father's features, I would later learn. Sharp cheekbones, intense dark eyes, lips that seemed perpetually on the verge of either a smile or a sneer. "Another one," he said in perfect English with a slight British accent. "What happened to Miss Sarah?" "She resigned," Mrs. Choi said simply. "Good, she was boring." Ji-hoon carefully set the vase down and jumped off the desk with practiced ease. "You're black." "Ji-hoon," Mrs. Choi's voice sharpened. I held up a hand. "It's okay." I crouched down to his eye level, something I'd learned early in my teaching career. Is that a problem for you?" He studied me with unsettling intensity. "No, I just haven't had a black teacher before. Are you from America?" "Atlanta, Georgia." "The South," he nodded like this confirmed something. "Do you know any rappers?" I couldn't help it, I laughed. "Sorry to disappoint you, but no. I do know some really good stories, though, and I'm excellent at making boring English lessons fun." Miss Sarah said the same thing. She lasted 2 weeks. "Well," I said, standing up and extending my hand, "I'm not Miss Sarah. Deal." He looked at my hand, then at Mrs. Choi, then back at me. Slowly, he shook it. His grip was surprisingly firm. "Deal, but I warn you I'm very smart. If you're stupid, I'll know." "Ji-hoon," Mrs. Choi looked mortified. But I just smiled. "Good, I hate teaching stupid kids. They're boring." For the first time, something like respect flickered in those young eyes. "You may begin tomorrow at 9, Mrs. Choi said, recovering her composure. "Mr. Kim would like to meet you now." My stomach flipped. "Now?" "He is finishing his meeting. Please come with me." We left Ji-hoon to his expensive chaos and walked down another endless corridor. My palms were sweating. I'd researched Kim Tae-jun, of course. 42 years old, CEO of Murray Technologies, one of the largest tech companies in Asia. Net worth estimated at over $3 billion. Widowed 5 years ago when his wife died in a car accident. Notoriously private, ruthlessly intelligent. The photographs I'd found online showed a man who looked carved from marble, beautiful in a way that seemed almost cruel. Sharp suits, sharper eyes, a mouth that never quite smiled. None of those photographs prepared me for the real thing. Mrs. Choi opened the door to an office that was more glass than wall, offering a panoramic view of Seoul's sprawling cityscape. And there, standing with his back to us, phone pressed to his ear, was Kim Tae-joon. He was tall, taller than I expected, and even in silhouette, his presence filled the room. Dark suit tailored so perfectly it looked painted on. When he turned, still talking in rapid Korean, his eyes met mine. Time didn't stop. That would be ridiculous. But something shifted in the air, became heavier, harder to breathe. He was beautiful, devastatingly so. But it wasn't just his face. It was the intelligence in his eyes, the power in the way he held himself, the dangerous grace of his movements as he gestured while speaking. He ended his call without breaking eye contact. Ms. Thompson, his English was flawless, his voice deep and controlled. Thank you for coming. I found my voice somewhere in my chest. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kim. He moved around his desk with predatory elegance, and I realized with a start that he was studying me the same way Ji-hoon had, taking in every detail, cataloging, assessing. You are younger than I expected. I'm 28. I've been teaching for 7 years. Your resume is impressive. 3 languages, masters in education from Columbia, experience with high-need students. He paused. Yet you came to Korea. Why? The question felt like a test. I wanted to challenge myself. Teaching abroad requires adaptability, cultural sensitivity, and creativity. Plus, I'd been teaching in underfunded schools in the U.S. I love that work, but I wanted to see how the other half learns. Something flickered in his expression. Amusement, approval. My son is not easy, Ms. Thompson. He is gifted, which makes him bored easily. He is also grieving, though he would never admit it. His mother died when he was 3. He doesn't remember her, but her absence shapes him. His voice remained steady, but I caught the tightness around his eyes. The last 7 teachers could not handle him. What makes you different? I met his gaze directly. I don't just teach English. Mr. Kim, I teach children how to think, how to question, how to find joy in learning. Ji-hoon doesn't need another person talking at him. He needs someone who respects his intelligence and challenges him to use it constructively. Silence stretched between us. His eyes God, those eyes seemed to see straight through me. You are aware of the terms? You will live here during the week, return to your apartment on weekends. Full discretion regarding family matters. Complete dedication to Ji-hoon's education. Yes, sir. And you understand that this family guards its privacy fiercely. No social media posts, no discussing our business with anyone outside this house. Of course. He nodded slowly, then extended his hand. Then welcome to our home, Ms. Thompson. I hope you last longer than the others. His hand was warm, his grip firm. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through my arm, and from the way his eyes widened fractionally, I knew he felt it too. I pulled my hand back quickly. I plan to, Mr. Kim. Tae-joon, he said suddenly. You may call me Tae-joon. We will be seeing quite a lot of each other. The way he said it made my pulse race in a way that had nothing to do with professional anxiety. My room in the Kim residence was larger than my entire apartment. En-suite bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people, a king-sized bed with sheets that probably cost more than my car, and a window overlooking the gardens. I was unpacking when my phone buzzed. My best friend, Candace, calling from Atlanta. Girl, tell me everything. Is the house as insane as you thought? More insane. Candace, I'm living in a palace. The kid is smart as hell and clearly testing me, and the father. I stopped. The father what? Nothing. He's professional, intimidating. Liar, I hear something in your voice. There's nothing in my voice. Mia Thompson, I have known you since we were 6 years old. You cannot lie to me. What's going on? I sighed, sinking onto the impossibly soft bed. He's just intense. That's all, very focused on his son's education. Is he fine? Candace, is he? That's completely irrelevant to my job. That's a yes. Okay, but seriously, be careful. Rich men like that, they're used to getting what they want. Don't let him make you uncomfortable. He won't. This is strictly professional. We talked for another 20 minutes before I hung up and tried to sleep, but rest wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying that moment in the office, the way June had looked at me, the electricity when our hands touched, the subtle shift in his expression when I'd challenged his assumptions. I was here to teach his son English, nothing more. So why did my heart race every time I remembered the sound of my name in his voice? The first week passed in a blur of structured chaos. Jihoon was brilliant, there was no denying that. By day 3, I'd discovered he was reading at a high school level, could solve complex math problems in his head, and had an encyclopedic knowledge of marine biology. He was also lonely, angry, and desperately seeking boundaries that no one seemed willing to give him. This is stupid, he announced on Thursday morning, pushing away the grammar worksheet I'd prepared. I already know all of this. Really? I leaned back in my chair, studying him. Then write me a story using all 20 vocabulary words, but here's the catch, make me cry. He blinked. What? You heard me. Anyone can use words correctly. Artists make people feel something. Show me you're an artist, not just a smart kid. His jaw set in that stubborn way I'd already learned to recognize. How long? However long it takes to make me cry. Could be 1 page, could be 10. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. Then he grabbed his tablet and started typing furiously. I spent the next hour watching him work, completely absorbed. When he finally turned the tablet toward me, his expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the hope hiding underneath. The story was about a dolphin who lost his pod in a storm. It was raw, surprisingly emotional, and yes, it used all 20 vocabulary words. By the end, my eyes were genuinely misty. Well, Jihoon demanded. I wiped my eyes dramatically. You made me cry, you little genius. This is beautiful. His whole face transformed, a real smile, unguarded and bright. Really? Really? You have a gift, Jihoon. Not just intelligence, imagination. Don't ever let anyone make you think that's not valuable. He ducked his head, embarrassed by the praise but clearly pleased. Miss Sarah never let me write stories. She said we had to stick to the curriculum. Well, I'm not Miss Sarah, and honestly, the best way to learn a language is to play with it, create with it, make it yours. From that day forward, something shifted between us. He still tested me, throwing tantrums, refusing assignments, asking impossible questions. But there was a foundation of mutual respect growing underneath it all. The problem was his father. June was everywhere and nowhere. I'd go days without seeing him, then suddenly he'd appear in the doorway of the study room, watching us with those intense dark eyes. He never interrupted, never commented, just observed and left. It was unnerving. Your father watches us a lot, I mentioned to Jihoon one afternoon. The boy snorted. He watches everything. He has cameras in like every room except the bathrooms, and my bedroom, but only because I threw a fit when I was 6. Cameras. For security, and because he's a control freak. Jihoon said it matter-of-factly, without judgment. He lost Mom, now he's afraid of losing me, so he watches. Something in my chest tightened. That must be hard, for both of you. Jihoon shrugged, but his eyes darkened. I don't remember her. Dad says I have her smile. Sometimes I catch him looking at me like it hurts, you know? Like I'm a ghost or something. You're not a ghost, Jihoon. You're very real and very here and very much your own person. I know that. I wish he did. Friday evening, I was packing my weekend bag when Mrs. Choi appeared at my door. Mr. Kim requests your presence in his office. My stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? Her expression remained neutral. He wishes to discuss Jihoon's progress. The walk to his office felt longer than usual. I'd been mentally preparing my weekend, laundry, groceries, maybe finally exploring more of Seoul, and now anxiety was creeping up my spine. Taejoon was at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that had no business being that distracting. He looked tired, I realized. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. "Ms. Thompson, please sit." I settled into the chair across from him, straightening my spine. Professional, this was professional. "I've been reviewing the recordings from this week," he began. Of course he had. "Jihoon seems different, happier, more engaged." He paused, and something that might have been relief crossed his face. "What are you doing that the others did not?" "I'm treating him like a person, not a project. He's not a problem to be solved, Mr. Kim. He's a gifted child who needs intellectual stimulation and emotional connection. The curriculum is important, but so is making him feel seen." Taejoon leaned back, studying me with that unnerving intensity. "You made him cry yesterday." My heart stopped. During the writing exercise about the dolphin. His voice was soft. "He cried while reading it to you. I watched the footage." Oh, those had been good tears, cathartic tears. "He was processing emotion through creativity," I explained carefully. "That's healthy. He needs outlets for his feelings, especially the ones he doesn't know how to name yet. His therapist has been trying to get him to open up for 2 years. You did it in a week." "I'm not trying to replace his therapist." "I know." Taejoon stood abruptly, moving to the window. Against the darkening Seoul skyline, he looked like something out of a painting. "I am not good at this, being a father. I know how to build companies, negotiate deals, read markets, but my own son." He trailed off. Without thinking, I stood and moved closer. "You're doing better than you think. Jihoon knows you love him. He just wishes you'd stop being afraid." Taejoon turned sharply. "Afraid?" "Of losing him, of not being enough, of whatever it is that makes you watch him through cameras instead of just being with him." The silence that followed was dangerous. I'd overstepped, way overstepped. This wasn't my place, my business, my... "You are very perceptive, Ms. Thompson." His voice was low, controlled, and very bold. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." "No." He moved closer, and suddenly the space between us felt charged with something I couldn't name. "You are right. I am afraid. Every moment of every day I am terrified that I will fail him the way I failed his mother." "You didn't fail her. Accidents aren't failures." "I was supposed to be in that car." The words came out raw, unguarded. "We were supposed to drive to Busan together, but I had a meeting, an important meeting that couldn't be rescheduled. So Hana went alone, and she never came back." "Oh God." "Mr. Kim." "Taejoon," he corrected quietly. "I told you to call me Taejoon." "Taejoon." His name felt dangerous on my tongue. "What happened to your wife wasn't your fault, and Jihoon doesn't need a perfect father, he just needs you. Present, imperfect, real." We were standing too close. I could smell his cologne, something woody and expensive. Could see the exact moment his professional mask cracked and something else showed through. "You are not what I expected," he said softly. "What did you expect?" "Someone easier to ignore." The air between us hummed with tension. His eyes dropped to my lips just for a second, and heat flooded through me. This was wrong, so wrong. He was my employer. This was inappropriate and unprofessional, and... His phone rang, shattering the moment. I stepped back quickly as he answered in Korean, his business mask sliding back into place. When he hung up, the vulnerability was gone. "That will be all, Ms. Thompson. Thank you for your report. Enjoy your weekend." I was dismissed, just like that. "Of course. Thank you, Mr. Kim." I was halfway to the door when his voice stopped me. "Mia." I froze. He'd never used my first name before. "Yes." "Be careful in Seoul. The city can be unpredictable for those unfamiliar with it." It was a simple warning, employer to employee, so why did it feel like so much more? Saturday morning, I met Candace's cousin, Michelle, who'd been living in Seoul for 5 years. She took me to Hongdae, the artsy university district that pulsed with youth and energy. "So spill," Michelle said over Korean fried chicken and soju. "How's the billionaire's house?" "Insane, beautiful, overwhelming." "And the billionaire?" I took a long drink. "Complicated." "Girl, they always are, but is he fine?" I thought about Tae-Jun standing by the window, vulnerability and power wrapped in expensive fabric. "He's magnetic, but it doesn't matter. This is just a job." Keep telling yourself that. We spent the day exploring markets, trying street food, and laughing until my sides hurt. It felt good to be normal Mia again, not the careful, professional version I had to be at the Kim residence. But that night, alone in my small apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about the way Tae-Jun had looked at me. The crack in his armor, the heat in his eyes. This was dangerous territory. I'd been hired to teach his son English, not to notice the way his voice dropped when he said my name, not to wonder what those expensive suits hid underneath, not to care about the grief he carried like a second skin. Professional boundaries existed for a reason. So why did my heart race every time I thought about Monday morning? Sunday evening, I returned to the Kim residence to find the house in chaos. Mrs. Choi met me at the door, her usually composed face tight with worry. "Ms. Thompson, thank goodness. Ji-hoon has locked himself in his room. He won't speak to anyone, not even his father." "What happened?" "His grandmother visited today, she said." Mrs. Choi hesitated. "She said things about his mother, about how Ji-hoon is forgetting her. It upset him greatly." Anger flared hot in my chest. "Where's his room?" She led me upstairs to a door covered in "keep out" signs in 3 languages. I could hear music blasting from inside, sad piano music that made my heart ache. I knocked firmly. "Ji-hoon, it's Ms. Mia." "Nothing." "I'm not going to tell you to open the door. I'm not going to say everything's okay when it's clearly not. But I am going to sit right here until you're ready to talk. Could be 5 minutes, could be 5 hours. I've got nowhere else to be." I slid down the wall and sat, pulling out my phone to wait. 3 minutes later, the door cracked open. Ji-hoon's eyes were red and swollen. "You really would have stayed." "Of course, you're my friend, aren't you?" He considered this, then opened the door wider. His room was a teenager's paradise in waiting, posters of ocean creatures, shelves of books, a gaming setup that probably cost more than my car. He sat on his bed, picking at the comforter. "Grandmother says I should remember Mom better, that it's disrespectful to forget her." I sat next to him carefully. "Can I tell you something? My mom died when I was 12, and you know what? Some days I can't remember her voice, or the exact way she smiled, and it used to make me feel so guilty." He looked up surprised. "Really?" "Really? But then I realized forgetting little details doesn't mean forgetting her. She's in other things. The way I love teaching because she was a teacher. The way I can't resist helping people because that's what she did. Your mom is in you, Ji-hoon. In your kindness, your creativity, your strength, that's how you honor her, not by torturing yourself over memories you were too young to form." Tears spilled down his cheeks. "Dad never talks about her. I think it hurts too much." "Probably, but maybe he needs to. Maybe you both do." A knock at the door made us both turn. Tae-Jun stood there, still in his work clothes, his expression carefully controlled. But his eyes were full of pain. "May I come in?" Ji-hoon nodded, and Tae-Jun entered slowly, like he was entering foreign territory. He looked at me, something like gratitude in his expression, then sat on Ji-hoon's other side. "Your grandmother was wrong," he said quietly. "You are not forgetting your mother. You never knew her long enough to forget. And that," his voice cracked slightly, "that is my fault, not yours." "Dad." "Let me finish." Tae-Jun pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos. "Your mother was funny. She laughed at terrible jokes. She sang off-key in the shower. She cried during commercials about dogs." He showed Ji-hoon a photo, a beautiful woman with Ji-hoon's smile caught mid-laugh. She would be so proud of you, not because you remember her, but because you are becoming someone remarkable all on your own. I watched father and son, my heart breaking and healing simultaneously. This was what Jihoon needed, what they both needed. Quietly, I stood to leave and give them privacy. Ms. Mia, Jihoon's voice stopped me. Thank you. Anytime, kiddo. As I left, I caught Taejoon's eye. The look he gave me was intense, complicated, full of things that couldn't be said. I was definitely in dangerous territory now. 3 months passed like a dream I was afraid to wake from. Jihoon flourished. His English essays won school competitions. He laughed more, cried when he needed to, and started calling me Miasim, a Korean term of endearment for teachers. We'd moved beyond curriculum into genuine friendship, and watching him grow was the most rewarding experience of my teaching career. But Taejoon was becoming my beautiful problem. It started small. He began joining us for lessons, sitting quietly in the corner with his laptop, claiming he needed to work, but I'd catch him watching us instead. Then came the dinners. Jihoon needs family meals, he'd say, as if that explained why his eyes lingered on me across the table. Our conversations stretched longer. Literature, philosophy, the loneliness of ambition. He told me about building his company from nothing, about the weight of employing 10,000 people. I told him about teaching in Atlanta's underfunded schools, about choosing impact over income. You could have been wealthy, he said one evening after Jihoon went to bed. We were in his study, sharing wine that cost more than my monthly salary. Columbia graduate, multiple languages, your intelligence, you could have chosen any path. I chose the right path for me. Money isn't everything. Spoken like someone who's never had to worry about it. I raised an eyebrow. I grew up in a single-parent household in Atlanta, Mr. Kim. I know exactly what it's like to count pennies. That's why I know it's not everything. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. You constantly surprise me, Mia Thompson. Good, predictability is boring. The air shifted, charged with unspoken things. He moved closer, and I should have stepped back, should have maintained professional distance, should have remembered every reason this was impossible. Instead, I stayed perfectly still as he reached out and tucked a stray curl behind my ear. This is inappropriate, he whispered. Completely, I agreed. You work for me. I do. I should not be thinking about you the way I think about you. My breath caught. How do you think about me? His eyes darkened, constantly, obsessively, in ways that have nothing to do with English lessons. We were inches apart now. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Taejoon. My phone shattered the moment, vibrating violently across the desk. Candace's name flashed on the screen, our emergency signal. 3 calls in a row. I grabbed it. Candace, what's wrong? Mia, oh my God, have you seen the news? Korean news. No, why? There are photos of you and Mr. Kim. Someone leaked photos to a gossip site and they're everywhere. They're calling you his mistress, saying you're Mia, it's bad. The blood drained from my face. Taejoon was already on his phone, his expression darkening with every swipe. How? I whispered. He turned his screen toward me. There we were walking in the garden last week, standing too close. Having wine in his study, his hand near my face. Innocent moments twisted by camera angles and malicious captions. Black gold digger SEDUCS GRIVING billionaire. One headline screamed. Tech mogul's son GETS American teacher, and so does he. My stomach turned. I need to leave, I need to. No, Taejoon's voice was steel. You did nothing wrong. It doesn't matter. Look at what they're saying. This will destroy your reputation, affect Jihoon. I will handle this. How? By denying what's true. The words hung between us like a confession. His jaw clenched. What exactly is true, Mia? Everything, nothing. The way I'd fallen for his intelligence, his hidden warmth, the vulnerability he showed no one else. The way my heart raced when he said my name. The dangerous dance we'd been doing for months. I care about you, I said quietly. More than I should, but Jihoon has to come first, if this hurts him. A small sound from the doorway made us both freeze. Jihoon stood there in his pajamas, tablet in hand, tears streaming down his face. On the screen, those same horrible headlines. "They're saying mean things about you, Miasim," he choked out. "They're calling you bad names because of us, because of me." My heart shattered. "Oh, sweetheart, no. I'll tell them it's not true. I'll tell them you're good and kind and—" "Jihoon," Taejun crossed to his son, kneeling to eye level. "This is not your fault. These people, they don't know us, they don't know her. Their words mean nothing." "But what if Mia leaves? What if she goes away like Mom did?" The fear in his voice broke something in me. I went to them both, kneeling so we formed a small circle. "I'm not going anywhere unless you want me to," I promised. "But you need to understand, this situation is complicated. Your dad and I—" I looked at Taejun, finding courage in his steady gaze. "We've been unprofessional, we've let feelings develop that shouldn't have, and that's on us, not you." "Do you love him?" Jihoon asked bluntly. The question hung in the air like dynamite. I looked at Taejun, this complicated, brilliant, wounded man who'd somehow become essential to me. "Do you love her?" Jihoon turned to his father. Taejun's eyes never left mine. "Yes," he said simply, "I do." The world tilted. "Then why is that bad?" Jihoon demanded. "Mom would want you to be happy. She told you that, remember? Before she died, you said she made you promise to find happiness again." Taejun's expression crumbled. "You were listening." "I was 3, not deaf." Jihoon grabbed both our hands. "Mia makes us happy, both of us, so why can't we keep her?" Because life wasn't that simple. Because society had opinions. Because I was Black and he was Korean, and we lived in a world that still cared about such things. Because loving him meant exposing myself to scrutiny, racism, hatred. But looking at them both, this broken, beautiful family that had somehow become mine, I realized something. I'd spent my whole life playing it safe, taking the noble path, choosing duty over desire. Maybe it was time to choose something just for me. "If we do this," I said carefully, looking at Taejun, "everything changes. We'll face backlash, judgment. It won't be easy." His hand found mine, warm and certain. Nothing worth having ever is. I could lose my teaching license, the scandal. Then we fight it together. Jihoon squeezed both our hands. "So we're keeping Mia." Taejun smiled, that rare, transformative smile. "If she'll have us." I thought about everything waiting outside this room. The headlines, the hatred, the impossible complications. Then I looked at them and thought, maybe some loves are worth burning the whole world down for. "Yes," I whispered, "I'll stay."